Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Happy Sunday. Welcome, folks, to another Sunday of LYS Free Student Mentoring, Laddering Your Success Free Student Mentoring. I am Olay Shorunke here with my good friend Festus Omoye. Festus, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, man. I'm doing excellent. I'm just happy to be here. Just happy to be here.
Awesome.
To get started.
Awesome.
What's up, Crawford?
Awesome. Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Doing well. Chilling. Thanks for joining us again, man.
Thank you for having me here.
Most definitely.
It's actually a special day. It's actually Jamark Crawford's birthday today. Happy birthday, Mr. Crawford.
Beep, 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 beep. You don't know the time.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. That's what's up.
Happy birthday. We wish you many, many more. Thank you so much for joining us these past couple weeks. So honored to have you and your knowledge with us every Sunday. So thank you so much for that. Hope you have a great birthday.
Thank you so much.
All right, let me go back and let's go ahead and go over how to get in contact with us as I wait for my computer. All right, if you want to get in contact with us on Instagram, it's going to be LYS Students, _LYS. That's on Instagram. If you want to get in contact with us on Facebook, just go into that search bar and type in Laddering Your Success. That's on Facebook. On YouTube, type in Laddering Your Success into the search bar, just like for Facebook, Laddering Your Success. For TikTok, LYSB, we still got the lookout for you. We still coming for you. We have not forgotten what you've done to us. We're going to find you. And when we see each other, it's going to be a discussion. On email, if you would like to inquire about business, about having us come out to your school, about having us come out to your church, about any of our products, books, ebooks, the LYS Teacher Lesson Planning app, you can send an email to info@ladderingyoursuccess.com. Discord is coming soon. We had an awesome meeting yesterday, and I'm actually going to take a couple seconds after we go over all the ways you can get in contact with us to show you guys someone that we were introduced to, a group that we were introduced to called STEM-E, who is doing some really, really awesome things. And we actually had their founder help us with our Discord yesterday, and it was really, really awesome. Me and Festus sat there looking like a bunch of old geezers trying to understand this new Discord thing. So that was pretty cool. So thank you so much, Andrea.
Speak for yourself, man. Speak for yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me speak for myself. I was in there. You could see all the whites on the hair and my nose because I had the phone looking like this. So absolutely. And of course, if you love what we do, if you would love to donate to anything that we're doing here with Laddering Your Success, on Cash App, our code or our way to get access to us, if you would like to donate to us, is $Laddering Your Success on Cash App. $Laddering Your Success. All right. And of course, last week we were talking about culture. We're going to wrap that up this week. But like I said before, there was something that I wanted to show everyone, and that is this. We were really honored yesterday to have the founder of STEM-E, Andrea, come and show us some things about Discord and their Discord that they have for their group. And so I just kind of wanted to highlight them and what they do. They are a youth career development program. And as you can see here, cultivating today's youth into tomorrow's business leaders, entrepreneurs, and STEM leaders. And they do a lot of work with science, engineering, and technology. So if you have a young person, if you are a young person that wants to get involved in any of those things, if you are a parent who has a child who is interested in any of these things, or if you're an educator who has a student or know someone that could use this, a wonderful platform to be able to get access and to learn skills and learn some different skills and learn some different things that'll help them in their future years. Really, really great stuff here. And that's where we got a lot of our knowledge on Discord. So I just wanted to highlight them and what they're doing. Awesome group there. All righty, let's continue on with culture. So last week, we talked about where a lot of our cultures come from, where they stem from. We talked a lot about learned behaviors, right? And how those learned behaviors become patterns. They become essentially who you are. We talked about the 4 components of culture: language, location, traditions, and history. We talked about how these things kind of work together with our be, know, do methodology, and we started to go into them, and we started to apply the be, know, do methodology with culture, right? So we talked about things like this. This was the first question that we asked. We said, what values, character traits, and principles do all cultures share, right? We said that all cultures essentially share this altruistic view of doing good, of doing right. They may not have the exact same things that they value as doing good or doing right, but for the most part, a lot of them are the same. We also asked the question, what do we do when we meet people of the same culture that have different values? And so we kind of flipped that around, and we also said, what do we do when we meet people of different cultures that have same values, right? Or people of different cultures that have different values. So we're going to start it off with this, and I think this is really important, and I think this is kind of pertinent to where a lot of people are right now, right? What are some resources to gain access or an understanding of my culture or even different cultures, right? What are some resources to gain access or an understanding of my culture or even different cultures? I'm going to post that out to you guys and see what we can pull out from that. What are some resources to gain access or an understanding of my culture or even different cultures?
I think that's a mix, and it's a mixed bag, and it's tough because for you to really understand your culture, you have to try to step outside of your culture. And oftentimes, even the things that we look at are still within the culture. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a person being like, oh, I want to understand hip hop, so I'm going to step out of that and listen to country for a while. And then it's like, will that help me get a better...
Hey, yo. Just kidding. Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, will that help me get a better view of hip hop? Not necessarily, because they're both like American music. You know what I mean? So I would think you'd have to like really, really step outside of your culture to be able to grasp things. But I don't know. Tell me, Crawford, what you think?
I'm trying to gather this resource real quick. Can you come back to me?
I love that. The teacher and the student in one. It's like, he's like, nah, I gotta cite my sources. Yeah, man. I think D Hill's having some audio issues. His audio keeps trying to load. Oh,
I can talk about it for a little bit while we're waiting. That's a really good point that you brought up. I think one of the things that you've got to think about is, right, the 4 tenets or the 4 kind of components of culture. We said language, location, tradition, and history. I believe, was that the last one? Was it history?
Yeah.
So when I think about that, I think about the history of hip hop. I think about where it came from, right? And you can go to YouTube and you can watch some noted sources talk about that. But I saw something that was really cool when you talk about DJ Kool Herc, right? Who essentially was the one that started it, right? In the Bronx.
Hip hop, don't stop. I'm just messing with you. I just don't know what I'm talking about.
Dude, no, but when all that started, Busta Rhymes was, I don't know where I watched it at, but he was talking about how a lot of that culture was Caribbean culture. How they would just come and just bring these speakers and just have these huge parties, and they would just like have these jam set, like these, these warehouse parties, and they would just be jamming. And when you think about how that culture kind of brought its way, right, overseas, technically, to the US, and they took a lot of what they did there and brought it here, and then they used the influence as well and what was around them to create something new. That's what happens with so many cultures, right? is just taking ideas. You know, I was talking to a good friend the other day and I was telling him about plate tectonics, right? Because that's one of the things that we teach in 6th grade. And when you really look at plate tectonics, you'll see that based off of the theory, right? The west coast of Africa and the eastern coast of South America at one point were connected. And if you look at what the theory says, if you go and look at the vegetation in those areas, a lot of them are similar, right? And so I saw this other thing, and you know, you talk to friends or you meet people that are from Colombia, from Brazil, from Argentina, all these different places, and you ask them what they eat. Oh, we eat rice, beans, plantain, fish, goat. And you're like, yeah, we eat that too.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things. I think one of the most important tools we can use as far as like communicating and understanding other cultures is just talking to other people. And a lot of times, well, let me not say it. We need to be comfortable with, I'm not gonna say embarrassing ourselves, but we need to be comfortable with being ignorant.
Yeah.
Because if you know you're ignorant, that's like, I think that's the main part of the battle.
Wow.
Knowing you're ignorant and then going and just talking to people and say, hey, I'm ignorant. I don't know these things. Can you educate me a little bit? Quick example for, okay, so I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I definitely think that fits into like just the value of humility leading to learning, right? Like if you have this basic, hey, you know, understand what ignorance means, you know, so often people look at that word as like a curse word or something, when in reality, it's just like you lack knowledge, you just don't know. And sometimes us being honest with ourselves, saying we don't know, can put us in the best possible position afterwards and put others in a good position. So definitely.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because you know it's some good topics. Crawford, did you get your resource? You got it?
Yes, I got it. So this book, it's a book for those who would like to get more information on this. The name of this book is called Cultural Competence. And what this book does, I read this book as part of my class that I had to take to understand competence and diversity. And so what this book does is it attempts to provide an understanding of how complex the social and psychological factors, that comes together to understand the cultural differences amongst us all. And at the same time, the goal of the book is to basically help us have a greater understanding in working with people of different cultures. So you could be an educator, teacher, or not, just a person who wants to broaden their horizons and understanding different cultures. So I would definitely refer this book as a resource. And the author is Jean Maul. And again, it's the Cultural Competence, a primer for educators, Jean Maul, the second edition.
You said
Were you guys able to hear me?
You said Jean Maul?
Yes, John Maul. Maul is Moule.
Let me see. The Cultural Competence, a primer for educators. Okay, cool.
Yes. And with this book, it's like amazing. It's been a while since I read it, so I probably need to read to refresh the stories embedded within it. But it's little things that we don't even recognize that are a cultural difference. It's an example of a classroom, and for a field trip, they were going to this place where it teach them etiquette with knives and silverware and things of that nature. And there's a student there that's like, what's the difference? What's the point of this? You know, they didn't understand the purpose and things of that nature, and how that teacher dealt with that student. And it basically showed how, well, that's not a part of that student's culture, you know. And so it's learning to recognize the differences and how to respond to them in an appropriate and respectful manner. So
Mm. You know, that's really powerful because, you know, I've taken part in some of those, like, I guess you could say self etiquette courses. And it's always interesting to me, you know, number one, who the people are who are hosting said things. But then at the same time, as you grow professionally, as you step out and start making an impact into the community, you start getting invited to all these galas and all these different events and stuff like that, where that stuff matters. You know what I mean? I don't think people are just really, really peeping that hard. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people are just looking at your plate like, let me see if you're going to pick up the salad fork or you're going to pick up the caviar fork. But at the same time, you just don't want to come off appearing slavish. You know what I mean? And I remember one of my first ones was when I won some scholarship money and there was a gala. Again, I already had gone through one or two of these little etiquette, I think maybe just one etiquette course. So it was like, oh, okay, do I even remember what, you know what I'm saying? Do I even remember what we talked about? Okay, inside out. Like, as it was like, okay, the stuff closest is for the first course and you move out to the next course. I think I remember that much. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, again, having those courses and having those things are key. Well, I know Olay was going to say something, and then I got a thought I want to throw out after Olay says we got to say.
Throw the thought. You got it.
So yeah, man, my thought was, like, how do I put this? Because I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of quote unquote culture clash that's happening right now. Do y'all think it's good or bad? And I'll let me hear your thoughts first, and then I'll.
can you elaborate on the culture clash that you're like referring to?
So like, I mean, like right now, just in our country, you know, people are talking like, you know, a lot of race issues, a lot of different types of issues. And my real question is like, do those things that are cultural clashes, right? Like, for example, something as simple as no shoes, no shirt, no service. If you grew up hood, you understand that, right? They'll usually have a sign up at the stop and go, no shoes, no. So that's a cultural thing, right? Because when you go to like a nightclub or something else that's nice, they'll be like, nah, if you wear Nikes or if you wear quote unquote tennis shoes, gym clothes, jump shoots, you can't come in here. You see what I'm saying? So to me, they're kind of doing the same thing, which is enforcing a form of dress code, right? One is like, hey, you know, no shoes, no shirt, no service. The other one is like, if you wear this type of clothing, we're not going to serve you. So I kind of want your thoughts on that. Is that good, the fact that there's culture clash, or not?
I think culture clash brings awareness to ignorance. And then at that acknowledgement of your ignorance, if you want to, let's say, truly understand, then you would inquire about that. What is the reasoning behind this? This is something based on my culture, I disagree with, but let me inform myself on these guidelines that are there for a different culture versus just respond. It's okay to be aware of your ignorance, but I feel like you don't have to respond ignorantly. So we can be aware of our ignorance and educate ourselves to seek to understand. And with that understanding, we can be able to respect whatever procedures are set in place by different culture.
Okay, so the reason why I throw that out there is because oftentimes, at least lately, when I've heard of something like that, like a dress code thing, right? Which dressing is part of culture, it comes off as, yo, this is either racist or racism. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, how do we know, or how do we kind of, I guess, fill the gap or divide between what is, like racism and what is culture when things clash and are challenged versus what is actually class, you know what I mean? Like that, like this is just some thoughts,
And I think that goes with, seeking to understand. So when one is in a circumstance or situation like that, ask the questions, seek to understand. And I think the questions that you brought up are very, very good, but you can come to the, answers to those questions by, trying to understand, okay, since we're talking about dress code, okay, what is the purpose? What is the intention? And things behind that, and based on the responses, I can't make up anything on the spot right now, but based on the responses, I guess you can try to determine, whether this is a culture clash or possibly racism.
I like that. Olay or D Hill, you got something to say?
Yes, brother. No, I'm fine. Yeah. Nah, you know what? The way I can see, I remember growing up, it was like, sometimes his thing, like culture is culture. You know what I'm saying? People dress a certain way. If that rule has always been there, it ain't really racist. But you already know the time when you go out to the club and that person in front of you and who might be, let's say, white, Hispanic, whatever. Now they dress the same way as you. When you walk up, they're like, nah, your pants too loose. Bro, it's the same pants. We literally have on the same outfit. Like there's nothing changed with you. Or when they used to change the rule about if a person had braids, they couldn't come in, like a dude with braids.
Yeah.
Like, bro, come on, man. Y'all just added that? And then they say because people were bringing drugs through braids. Bro, people bringing drugs through any form of fashion, man. Like you know what I'm saying? They could braid it into their hair and pull it out, they said back then. So, but like you say, if this place has always said wear a suit, and when you walk up there in a regular t-shirt and they don't serve you, that's not racist, Bill. It's been like that for 50, 60 years. Now, if they don't let the black or the Hispanic person in who's wearing a suit, then that's a different story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it just depends, I guess.
I like that. Because some people will rebuttal, hey, man, well, 50, 60 years ago, everybody's racist. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I'm throwing that out there is because I think, especially nowadays, we really don't realize how important culture is, but also the fact that we are in, I'm gonna use the word a cultural salad versus a melting pot, because I think for so long, especially from my perspective, now this is my perspective and probably a few other people's perspective, but I'm gonna just kind of talk my perspective. Our parents came to the country and we're informed, hey, this is a melting pot. Everybody comes together and melts, and we kind of do this thing, and that's the American way. And now you fast forward 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you see, no, people have neighborhoods set up that are Hispanic, that are Jewish, that are Caucasian, they have neighborhoods set up, and the stores in those neighborhoods reflect the people who live in those neighborhoods. So the food, the culture, the customs are still maintained intact. Whereas a lot of times for certain people, they had to try to rid themselves of their culture, right, in order to fit in. And then 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, you still don't fit in. Or you fit in and it's like a backfire on you. You know what I mean? And it's like, again, I'll speak of some of the stuff happening now. Because so this is, for those who don't know, October 1st is when they celebrate Nigerian Independence Day. So this is, you know, here I'm going to get on my soapbox with history. But for a lot of people who don't know, while America was fighting for civil rights, African countries were fighting to end colonialism. And that ended almost about the exact same time. So there's a lot of people who say, well, what happened to these African countries and how come they were over there just chilling while we were over here having a hard time? No. If you look at it, mercantilism was in effect until the 1940s and really still hasn't quite ended. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, a lot of people who've come over have kind of tried to to a certain degree rid themselves of their culture and from Africa. And again, speaking more of millennials, and then fast forward now, the culture is now cool. You know what I'm saying? So you got Afropop, you got Burna Boy, you got WizKid, you got Davido, you got all these different people where it's like, yo, that's cool now. And then it's like, how do I embrace my culture now when people have said, hey, you need to lose it in order to become American? Now, again, this isn't personally me only, right? I think this is a lot of people who probably have this sentiment. And so, again, in this day and age, how do we deal with that and reconcile those two? What is, hey, I'm challenging your culture just to help you be a little bit more classy. I'm challenging your culture to help you, you know, just again, step up a little bit versus, because like poverty is a culture, you know what I'm saying? I mean, look, I know y'all would ready to go there, but poverty is a culture. And so oftentimes those things that we think were cultural might have just come from poverty versus really being baked into the culture. So again, I'm just throwing things out there to challenge, to hear feedback, you know what I'm saying? So.
Well, I'll say this before we go into something. I'll never forget, my parents told me this when I was in pre-K. The pre-K teacher, when my parents came for the parent-teacher conference, the teacher told my parents that I was having trouble with English because I was speaking a lot of Yoruba, which is my parents' native language. They said he's saying a lot of words in Yoruba. And so my parents immediately stopped speaking to me in Yoruba. They immediately stopped. They only spoke to me in English. When you look at it these days, bilingualism is being seen as like a very advantageous thing to do with their kids. You have a lot of dual language programs. You have a lot of sources dedicated to making sure that a lot of students can speak more than one language because of the growing population of those of people that speak Spanish and that speak more than one language. And also it's been proven of like the effect it has for you, right? Like cognitively and all these other benefits for it. And so I thought about what you said when you said being poor as a mindset. And I could easily see my parents being from a state of like, from that colonial mindset of like, whatever the state says is what we'll do. Oh, the state says he's not speaking enough English. We need to speak more English at home. Okay, we're going to speak more English at home. And we're going to get rid of the native language. When now I want to learn how to speak the language, and because Nigerians don't know how to be soft with their words, they can easily make you not want to learn the language. Be like, what are you saying? No, that's not how you say it. It's like, you know what? I don't want to learn this anyway. I know English now. I'm fine. So, you know, it's just one of those things that kind of plays into it, your mindset, you know, which is interesting because usually my parents are very like stern, like this is what we're going to do. But I guess for whatever reason, they made that decision to do that.
But that's a powerful thing because, and this was an experience I had. I think I've told this story. I'm gonna tell two quick stories. One story, when I was in elementary school, they put me in ESL, English as a second language. Now, the thing is, again, being Nigerian, our parents spoke British English, right? So the thing is, it was actually proper English. And the thing is, I did not speak any Yoruba. And I get to school and the lady's like, she's going over the little lessons with me in ESL. I'm doing the little lessons. And as I'm doing the little lessons, she's like, hey, you sound really good. What other language do you speak besides English? And I was like, nothing. That's all I speak. I don't, like literally at home, my parents would be like, they would talk to me in Yoruba and be like, yo, you don't hear what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, you know what I'm saying? And there's like this battle of like, losing your culture while one person is saying, hey, obey your teacher, listen to your teacher. And then the teacher saying, hey, learn English. And you're like, okay, cool, I got English. And then they're like, hey, look, that's not good enough on both sides. You know what I'm saying? And so that's one story. Now, second story, I'm in the military. I go to Italy on this trip. We go to a restaurant in Italy, and I seen that comment, yes, sir. So I obviously you feeling what's going on, Caleb. So I go to this restaurant, and it's a group of us. Now, again, I'm kind of the rarity, okay? Big black guy, you know what I'm saying? In Italy, traveling with primarily, Caucasian people. Long story short, I'm like, hey, man, I don't know, but do you think you could take my order in English? Because I look at the menu, I'm like, I ain't read none of this Italian, right? The waiter says German, Italian, French, Slovakian, English. How may I help you? How may I take your order, sir? So this waiter knew 5 languages, right? A waiter, 5 languages. And this was very powerful to me because number one, I felt very ignorant because I think that's a very American thing where, you're American, speak English. And it's like, well, what happened to the melting pot? What happened to we all get along? You know what I'm saying? What happened to that? You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm thinking as an American soldier over there. I'm, technically saying represent the country. You know what I'm saying? And it was just very surprising to me because, again, it's one of those things where culturally, if you're monolingual or even bilingual, you're looked down at as this is impoverished. But if you go to well-to-do families, they spend hundreds, if not thousands, to help their kids learn other languages. So this thing, I think, it's very interesting, like culture versus class versus it's not where you're from, it's where you at type situation. So
absolutely. Very wonderful point. Very, very, very wonderful point. All right. So folks, D Hill, hey, we didn't get a chance to say good afternoon to you. How you doing today, D Hill?
Good, and y'all?
Doing good. Did you want to introduce these students, and then I can give a quick story about one of them?
Okay, yeah, no problem. I haven't met his brothers, but I think this is brothers and his father on here right now. My student was asking about the information for his brothers because his brothers are about to go to college, and they was coming learn about, and I was telling about LYS and the scholarships and the way y'all help people understand and do mentorships. So this is Caleb. I guess I don't know if it's him or his brother's on right now, his father, but they was wondering about all the information y'all have and how to get more about y'all and actually how to save money on schools and all that type of stuff.
Well, that's wonderful. Good afternoon. Let me start off by telling this story. My first year of teaching, I had a student, very, very sharp student, very good kid. And I think he is the brother of Caleb. If I'm not mistaken, that should be Joshua. I think one of his brothers is Joshua, and he has a older brother. So it should be 3 of them. They actually have a channel on YouTube called SJC Bros, which is a really good channel. I watch it from time to time. I just saw the basketball video. So really, really, really proud of those kids and the things that they're doing. Festus, did you want to go on for a little bit? Did you want to go for about 10 more minutes and then we can get into scholarships? You want to get some stuff ready? You're on mute.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Go ahead, continue, and then I think we could segue into like college culture, and then we could get into like scholarships and some money saving tips.
I like it. Very good. All right, let me share my screen here. So this is that book Crawford, is this the book you were talking about? As you were talking, I think me and Festus were looking it up.
Yes, that's the book.
Okay, very good. Cultural Competence, a Primer for Educators. I guess we have to be in that mode, Festus, of podcast mode. So for those of you who can't see, I'm displaying a book called Cultural Competence, a Primer for Educators by Jean Olay, or Moule. Jean is the first name, last name is Moule. All right. Definitely going to get that on my ABE books. Okay. So we talked about that, some resources to gain access or an understanding of my culture or even different cultures. So that's where we got the reference from Crawford about that book. We talked about what's going on currently in our melting pot, if you will. You know what's a really good point about that, Festus? You basically displayed the difference between a mixture and a solution, right? Oh, there we go. I know. I feel like D-Hill's rolling his eyes at me right now.
But I like that. I like that science talk because real talk, because a lot of people think we're like so amalgamous, and this is the thing that I think that's a good point that you're bringing up. Mixture and solution. Well, what is the reaction? And I think that's what we're dealing with right now. Is like, yo, we just figured we could just put everybody and mix them up, and then there's not any kind of chain reaction, you know. But go ahead, bro.
Absolutely. You know, I think at its core, a mixture can be easily separated, while a solution is a new substance that cannot be easily separated. And I think that's what we are. I think right now we're more of a mixture. And when you're more of a mixture, as far as the organism of a human is involved, or is involved, you have to understand the culture, right? It's very important and necessary to understand other cultures. So that's definitely key there. All right, so now let's get to the do portion of our Be No Do methodology. How do we go out and meet and engage with our culture and other cultures if we choose to learn about them? And I think where my heart was going in this, I'm sorry, I just saw Hill's response. He said, I am. Yes, I knew you were rolling your eyes when I said that. When we talk about how do we go out and meet and engage with our culture and the cultures of others, we choose to learn about them. Where my heart was is I was really thinking about a lot of African Americans. If you notice, right now is a time where many African Americans are trying to chase their ancestry. And here's me getting on my soapbox. The fact that a lot of African Americans have to go out and look for that, right, is part of history. And if you understand the history, you understand why that was done. There was a reason why the last name was taken away. There's a reason why every single connection to their ancestral home was pulled away. That's part of the history, right? And so how do we meet and engage with that? And so that's where my heart was when I came up with that question. But it not only has to do with that, it has to do with so many others. One quick comment. Last week, I believe it was, Festus invited us to a photo, what was it? Photofia?
Photo Fest. Yeah.
Photo Fest. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
The Photo Fest, right? And the thing that I was super excited about is that there was this huge, and it's still going on, right? For about a week or two.
Yeah, 2 more weeks, probably about 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. There was a huge sector, if you will, or a huge gallery of African and African American photographs done by photographers, I believe at the African American Museum.
Correct.
Of History?
Correct. No, of art.
Okay, sorry, African American Museum of Art. And that's a really great way. I mean, you got to think about it. That's African and that's African American. And if you remember what we said earlier, we talked about cultures taking what little knowledge they had from their past and using it with the resources that were around them. And that's what I've seen with a lot of African Americans. If you look at a lot of the foods, not just the foods between Africans and African Americans, South Americans and Africans, South Americans and African Americans, French and African Americans with, Creole and so many other different cultures, you see so many similarities And I think that's a super important thing that we have to pay attention to, right? So if we're asking the question, how do we go out and meet, not just meet, but engage with our culture and other cultures? How do we do that? And so those are just some things to think about there. Go ahead, Festus.
So yeah, I was gonna, since we have our guests on today, we're gonna honor our guests by kind of segueing into them. Is that cool? Or should we? Okay, got the thumbs up. So then we're gonna kind of honor our guests by segueing into them and talk a little bit more about kind of college as a culture, right? And so if you don't have a pen, get a pen or pencil, a piece of paper, take some notes, because we're gonna go in for about the next 10 or 15 minutes, okay? So we'll give a brief history of like college, and then we'll kind of talk about some things that are happening today. So brief history, how did colleges begin? If you go back and look historically, colleges began by a lot of astrologers actually searching the solar system, the stratosphere, whatnot, for information. And back then we had very, I believe the word's agrarian culture, right? We grew our food. So the thing is, these astrologers would basically be like, oh, the last time these stars lined up and the sky did this is what happened. And so because of that, they would give this information to the kings and the queens and the people who rule different lands, right? Well, you can imagine you have all these different astrologers giving this information. Eventually, you had to bring those things together. Now, this searching the stars ended up leading to different forms of religion, i.e., you had Greek myths and Roman myths and different types of things like that. But then you also had the Abrahamic faiths, okay? So I'm giving a lot of history in a short period of time, okay? So when colleges started, there were basically three major things that they looked for, right? In terms of degrees or majors or whatever. It was medicine, theology, and law. Those were the three things, right? And so if you go back and look, the first actual university was considered Fez, Morocco, right? And is one of the first universities considered Fez, Morocco. And that university ended up giving rise to other universities. The oldest continuous university is in Italy, in Bologna. I forgot what the name of the actual university is, but it's in Bologna, okay? So yeah, you can throw that out there. I think it's just the University of Bologna. So then you throw in the Oxfords and the what is this other, the not the Yales, what's the other one out there? So anyway, you throw in those English universities, all that other stuff. So Bologna was around 800, I think, 800 BC, no, 800 AD. And then you have Cambridge and Oxford and those like that. I think they're like 12 or 13, 1400, right? So all this to say, the people who went to these universities had time and space to just think, right? So the other class that was built under those who had time and space to think was what they call guilds, okay? A guild was like a blacksmith. A guild was like a horseshoe maker. A guild, or I guess that's a blacksmith, or what do they call it? A horse saddle maker, whatever, right? So these people had very good skills, silversmiths, goldsmiths, right? They had very, very good skills. So fast forward, I'm doing a lot of history right now. You still have colleges and universities, but you just have many more things that you have time to study. But then the guilds turned into trades, right? Trade schools. So basically the way our system is set up is you have colleges and universities that are aimed at professional degrees, right? I put the air quotes up there. And then you have trade schools and community colleges that are kind of a blend, right? So what's the difference? If you go to a trade school or community college, you're hyper-focused on whatever it is you're gonna do. Whereas if you go to a college or university, you're gonna study a much broader aspect of whatever it is you're gonna do. Olay, thank you for the notes. Okay, so why is that important to a parent? Okay, I'm talking to the parents now. Why is that important to a parent? It's because you really have to understand where your student is gifted and what makes most sense for your student, right? Right now, we have a student loan debt crisis. I get it. President Biden just gave some student loan relief, different types of things like that. But it does not seem that the student loan crisis is going away. Why does it not seem that the student loan crisis is going away? Because our entire economic system is actually built on debt. It's a debt system, right? You have to understand that, okay? If you don't understand that, you're gonna have a hard time trying to figure out where to go to school, right? Because, and why do I say that? Because if you don't understand that, it's gonna sound like the price of college is way too much, right? It's gonna be like, oh man, you know, a four-year university for $15,000 a year, where am I gonna get $15,000 a year? And it's gonna sound like it's way too much, right? And for a student, you might get discouraged seeing those numbers and seeing your parents, you know, kind of try to figure out those numbers and that math, right? So how do we make this a little bit easier? Olay, can you get rid of this? And then we're gonna do the being, knowing, doing circle, okay? Actually, we're gonna, no. We're gonna do the, what's the Japanese, the Ikegai circle, okay? So 3 big circles. So we're gonna compare and contrast, okay? So there's a Japanese principle called the Ikegai, and the Ikegai is basically kind of rough for saying, what's your purpose in life? What's your meaning in life, right? And so, yeah, Ikegai, Ikegai. Yeah. There's another I at the end. So there's 3 things you need to look at. The first thing is, what do you love? What do you love? And if you since you're our guest, I hope you came to do some homework, because yes, I'm going to show you how to save some money, but we got to get the mind right to save the money, right? So then that way, when we get the money that we save, we're going to be able to do something else with it. The next thing is, what does the world need? And then the last thing is, what can I get paid for? So if you take what you love and you take what the world needs and you combine those two, the overlap is where you can get a sense of personal mission, right? So I really love basketball. Does the world need more basketball coaches? Yeah, probably, because I can help out kids. So my personal mission becomes helping out kids. Is that gonna pay me though? It might not, right? So if you take what the world needs and what I could get paid for, right? That's where you could get profession or your opportunities from, right? So that means, you know, the world needs more doctors and I could get paid to be a doctor. Great, I could just go be a doctor. It doesn't mean I love being a doctor. It just means I get paid to be a doctor, right? So I now have a profession. Now, if you take what do you love versus what you can get paid for, now you have what's called a vocation, right? Or a calling or a longing, right? So this is like, hey, man, and really, yeah, that's vocation. And so if you can mix these 3, what am I called to do? What do I have a longing to do? What do I have a personal mission for? And what is professional? I can now get what's called the Ikegai, which is right in the middle, right? So let's say, for example, I'm gonna take the basketball illustration again. Okay, I love basketball and I love working with young people. I can actually go be a coach. Now, people need coaches and they'll pay me to be a coach, but I can also be a trainer. So now, because I have this skill set, I want to coach kids, I can train on the side, and I can be a coach at a high school. I could be a coach at a college. I could be a coach in the NFL or NBA, right? So I could be a coach overseas. So there's all these different options now that open up to me based off of knowing what I love, what the world needs, and what can I get paid to do, right? Was that helpful? If it was helpful, hit the like button or put the yes in the chat so then we could go on, okay? Olay, I think I'm gonna need to take screen sharing back. Okay, so now we talked about the differences in options. So if your dad's on, I put that link in the chat. This is the link I put in the chat, which is www.laddernyoursuccess.com. You just click on the word parents, or you could put in /parents. Okay, and then it'll take you to our website where, again, we put a lot of these resources that we've made. So if you're looking for scholarships, you could just get the scholarship guidebook here. If you're looking for a parent's guide to talk to your kids a lot about these things and to really help you to really kind of figure out pathways you want to choose, you could get that guidebook. If you're like, hey man, I just need a checklist, I just need to check off, am I doing the right thing? You could get that checklist. And then finally, if you're like, I want to have a real in-depth conversation and knowledge on this, you could get our book. Okay. So yes.
It's just the students. It's just the kids.
Okay. Well, and the kids, my recommendation then is follow our YouTube channel. You just put in Laddering Your Success. That is going to be like super duper key for you guys to just follow our YouTube channel, because we put a lot of great content on our YouTube. So I'm going to fast forward. Like I said, a lot of information, a little bit of time. Okay, so there's this thing called 60 by 30 Texas. And basically, the state of Texas has looked over the education landscape and they've said, hey, man, we need more people to graduate. So they then set out some goals, okay? And here I'm clicking on the goals of how to get more people to graduate from either trade school or from colleges and universities, okay? And they started this back in 2015, okay? And so you could go and you could literally download this whole entire thing and read through it. I'm gonna save you some time here by not reading through it because I've read through it, right? And then we could talk more personally about what your specific needs are. Okay, so the most scholarship money you're gonna get is gonna be on your first degree. And now, how do you get scholarships? By one of two main ways: by showing need or by merit, right? And so what is need? Need is, hey, I qualify for this school. So that means I have good grades, I have good SAT scores, ACT scores, but I just can't afford it, right? And so one of the automatic things, if you fill out the FAFSA, write that down and underline it 3 times. FASFA, FAFSA, underline it 3 times. Your parents fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA is pretty much going to automatically get you what's called a Pell Grant, right? If they qualify financially. Okay, and so that means pretty much if they make under 100 grand a year, they're probably going to qualify, especially if they're depending on how many people's in the house. I don't want to get into the numbers and all that stuff yet. Okay, so they're pretty much going to qualify for what's called a Pell Grant. Pell Grant is about $5,000 for your first year. So you could pretty much say, if I want to go to U of H, and U of H is 13 to 15, let's say $15,000 a year, $5,000 of it is going to get paid by Pell Grant. Now, where am I going to get the other 10K from? You get the other 10K from not from need-based scholarships, but from merit-based scholarships. That means I did something, I earned something, right? All this jazz about there's just free money out there and it's floating and it's free money. Absolutely not. That's BS, right? What it is you have to do something, even if it's as simple as filling out a form, okay? You got to fill out the form, okay? So stop letting people lie to you and say, oh, it's just free money. Fill out the freaking form, okay? And so how do you do this? There's different ways about going about do this. We talk about it a lot in the book. So one of the biggest things is really trying to understand what your major is and then participating in things that align with that major, okay? So for example, if I really love basketball, I'm sticking with the basketball, and I'm really diehard in basketball, I think I could get a basketball scholarship. That is a merit-based scholarship, right? So I'm better than everybody else in basketball. That's a merit-based scholarship. Now, here's the kicker, okay? This is the game they're not going to give you. You could be better than everybody else in basketball and suck in your grades, and they're going to drop you like a bad habit, okay? You have to have your grades up so that way you're not failing out of college. And there's research that says if you're an A student in high school, you're probably going to be a B college student. Almost everybody falls by 1 letter grade because you don't have the same level of support systems of people telling you what to do is on you. So a lot of people get to college, again, they get to that culture of the campus where they're going to party, they're going to hang out. And the thing is, you don't know, and this is why I love what Olay said about meeting with people and talking with them and engaging with them. On campus, you don't know what that other person is going through. You don't know how well studied they are. So while they're going out and partying, what you didn't know was that they were a perfect honor roll student and they could read a book in 3 days. And you who's struggling, right? You think I'm a party with such and such because they cool, when in reality, you need to go get in those books so you can get the scholarship, okay? So now, where we at? Let's talk about other merit-based scholarships, okay? And this time, let me put it in the chat. Do you have a school in mind? A school in mind you want to go to? College, university that you've been looking at? Let's put it in chat for me real quick. Texas, UT, Texas Tech, A&M, Texas State. Y'all give me some more schools.
Roll Tide, baby.
Alabama. So let's say A&M. We're gonna just do A&M real quick, okay? What we're gonna do, okay, we said Baylor, A&M, anywhere in Texas. Okay, so I like Baylor. I like Baylor. And so the reason why I like Baylor is because their website is actually pretty easy. So what we're gonna do, okay, because there's a ton of scholarships, and now I'm gonna break it down a little bit further, now that we know what we're talking about. There's a ton of scholarships that are offered outside of Baylor, and then there's some offered directly in Baylor. And so we're gonna come to their website, okay? We're going to click on, no, I didn't wanna do that. What happened? Let me go back to the home page. We're gonna click on admission. Whoa, what's happening here? I don't know what happened. Okay, maybe I don't wanna click on anything because this is just, yeah, we're gonna scroll down here, undergraduate admissions. Okay, and then we're gonna go to cost and aid. And you see right there, this is why you have to learn how to navigate websites, okay? This is gonna be very, very key for anybody who wants to be successful in terms of just in life in general. You wanna learn how to navigate websites. 90% of people, I think it's 97%, only go to the home page of a website. That's not good. So you see here, how to fund your education, your Baylor education, scholarships and aid, and then scholarship programs. You want to look at all three of these. Now, for the sake of time, we're not going to look into all three of these, but look at that. Look, merit-based scholarships and financial aid. Just like we talked about before, right? Look at that. They said, fill out the FAFSA. Oh, now they got this new one, CSS profile, which I just heard about that today. That's a whole new thing, but it's mainly for private schools. So anyway, so now look at this to the left. You have all these different scholarships that they have for, this is primarily for Baylor, okay? So what's a major or what's something that you're interested in? Let's throw it in the chat for me real quick. Or we'll go to this one just because, but I do want to hear what your major is. So we'll go to this one real quick. Engineering. Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to click on engineering. Okay, we're going to click on departmental scholarships. Okay, more about the departmental scholarships, and then we're going to look for, and did I even spell that right here? Hopefully I spelled that right. So boom. Okay, so now I'm on their website. Look at all of these scholarships, right? That these are people who have put in money, right? Usually it's going to be alumni or something like that for scholarships for Baylor. This is kind of a whole nother thing. I don't want to get into it, but this is why you go to certain schools, because the alumni of that school is like a family, right? And they help out. So you got all these different scholarships. I'm not going to take too much of a dive into this, right? So this is for just the School of Engineering, and I guess that's communications, right? Then you scroll down here, this is just for engineering majors. So now, and then this one's for mechanical engineering majors. So now you see how what we're talking about work together, right? So if you know your major, you know you want to do engineering, you're participating in engineering programs at your high school, you're participating in engineering challenges, right? So on the weekends, don't just sit around and watch TV, right? Look for programs that you could get into, free, low cost programs where you could challenge yourself in engineering. And then you now go to say, okay, these are the scholarships they offer at the school for me. Let me go look at these individual scholarships to see which ones I qualify for, right? And so I'm gonna just click on one randomly. Okay, so for this scholarship, right, this one is for undergraduate engineering or computer science majors. So it's pretty much anybody who's engineering at Baylor. But on top of that, I have to have a minimum GPA of 2.5, right? Then it says individual departments may have more stringent academic requirements. This is why I said what I said earlier about you might want to go for basketball and basketball scholarship. But now let's say you don't have the grades, right? And somebody else comes in, they're not as good as you in basketball, but they have the grades and they got that 2.5 GPA, right? They're going to be like, man, we really got to get Sammy on this team. What do we got to do to get Sammy? Well, Sammy's in the engineering school and Sammy probably qualifies for this. So guess what? When you apply for this scholarship, guess what your coach is probably going to go do? You say, coach, I really want to play over there. I ain't got the money. I applied for this scholarship. I just don't know if I'm going to get it. I'm telling you what's probably going to happen. Your coach is going to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Jack and Susie Wilkinson, Sammy's really good at basketball and got this GPA, and I'm pretty sure he can get that scholarship. Hey, buddy, hey, I'm pretty sure he could get that scholarship because he qualifies. Okay, great. Click, hang up the phone. Now there's a more likelihood of you getting that scholarship, right? Now, some of these scholarships, they're blind in terms of how they score them and things like that. Some of them aren't, right? And what do I mean by blind is that they might have faculty from another department or volunteers to score the actual scholarships, right? But trust me, at the end of the day, they go onto somebody's desk and that person has to make a decision. You want to be in the best possible place when that decision is announced as possible, okay? All right, so Olay just put our Discord in the chat. If you like what we're talking about.
No, that's not our Discord. That's STEMI's because ours isn't ready yet.
Oh man, we promoting us, man. It's about us.
I know, but they said they're ready to do the engineering thing.
Oh, the engineering. Okay, yeah.
That's one of the things they had. Ours isn't ready yet. I don't want to set up there and get lost.
All right. I feel you on that. Because they don't show up and ain't nobody gonna be home.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll go over one last thing and then I'll close out. Okay. So let's say, for example, you're saying, man, I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready for Baylor's tuition yet. We didn't go over the tuition, but you definitely want to look at the school's tuition. You could go to a program like Capital Idea, which is located in Houston, and they help pay for certain programs at like Houston Community College and at Lone Star. So if you go into one of their engineering programs, right? So this is diesel engine mechanics, electrician. These are usually tech programs, okay? Because I wanted to give you two options. Because listen, college is not for everybody. Education is. College is not for everybody. Education is. Okay? And so the thing is, if you are a person who's like, hey, man, I can't spend 4, 5, 6 years in college. I need to make some monies. I need to make some coins. Okay? Then go get you a 2-year degree. Go get you a certification. I didn't even hop on certifications yet. Go get you a certification that pays really well so that you can now adjust your life a little bit financially and then go finish your degree. Okay, I'm not saying don't ever go to college. Okay, and for anybody who's like, man, he's discouraging people from going to college. I'm not. I'm just letting you know, for a lot of people, it's very difficult for them to go 10 years, 5 years, 6 years to school and not earn a paycheck, okay? Especially for minority, non-traditional students like myself. So with that, I'm gonna shut up. So I got This Is Fire. Oh, he said Festus' voice was hot. Yeah, my voice did go hot. So with that, I'm gonna shut up. We wanna hear what the students have to say, obviously. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So you guys could come off mute, and if you guys have something to say or have any questions, we'll try to tackle those before we close out. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
May you please go over the capital idea again?
Yeah, no problem. Okay, share screen. I'm gonna go over capital idea. Okay, so the way capital idea works, they're at certain community colleges. And I'm gonna give you some sauce and some game right now, okay? Do they want the sauce? So check this out. Okay, I'm gonna give you the sauce anyway. So there's a new law that was passed in the state of Texas allowing community colleges to give away bachelor's degrees. Okay, and because of this new law in the state of Texas, you have certain programs. I'm gonna just HCC engineering program, right? So HCC has partnered with Texas A&M to do an engineering academy. So technically saying, I seen you put A&M in there, you could get an A&M degree going to Houston Community College. It's gonna save you a lot of money. I told you, they ain't ready for the sauce. They ain't ready for this game, right? So
hey guys, go call your parents now, please.
Hey, anybody who's watching
right now, call your parents.
Anybody who's watching,
I sign up for this?
Me too, bro.
Yeah. So you actually can. So I think they run this out of Katy, right? So yeah. So basically, you can apply. This is the application stuff, right? You obviously they want you to have a 3.0 GPA or higher, right? So if you have a 2.5 or lower, don't even worry about it. A 3.0 or higher. Why? Because if you're coming from high school, you know, and depending on where you're at in high school, you could get your grades up, okay? So that means you need to tell your friends, shut up, tell your girlfriend, look, I ain't got the time, okay? If you got a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. Stop smoking crack. No, I'm just joking. But, yeah, bro, I wanted to judge Joe Brown, and he said, was it Joe Brown? I think it was Joe Brown. He said, "Ma'am, are you a crackhead?"
Judge Mathis.
Judge Mathis. Oh, yeah, you see the Judge Mathis?
I know you did a little bit. I can smell it.
She said, it was like 30 years ago. He said, I can smell the crack.
I can smell it just a little bit. I know a crackhead when I see one.
Anyway, so look, if you have a 2.5 GPA and you're a junior, you could get it up to a 3.0, right? Just do the work, okay? Do the work, all right? If you are a senior and you got a 2.8 GPA, you could get it up to a 3.0. Just do the work. You got to focus for at least a solid semester. Cut the nonsense out. Cut off the TV. Get off social media. And if you're going on YouTube, use it for study, right? Crash Course, Khan Academy, other things like that. So anyway, so I'm just kind of going through this program some more. So now let's say, which this is Crawford's question right here. If I'm not an HCC student, I'm trying to quit my job. So if you want to pre-qualify, you could just do this. You do the online application to pre-qualify, depending on where you're at academically. So a program like this, right, or any of the engineering programs that fall under engineering certifications, they will pay for. So for example, you have construction and manufacturing. You have all these different types of things that fall under engineering, right? Because even though you have an engineer, you have to have a mechanic, somebody to fix what the engineer did. So for example, you could be an aerospace engineer, and then you could also be what's called an aerospace mechanic, right? They're still doing similar things, which I don't want to get too far into that, but that pays really good too. So then you go to Capital Idea and you look at like, okay, what are the different things that they offer that I could get into, right? And you look for the different things that they offer that you could get into that are aligned with what you love, with what you want to do, right? So like this, they got welding, for example, core construction, for example, computi, I think that's what's that thing called? Computer science, right? So they will then help you with college prep. They'll help you with tuition and then guidance and then books. And if you do have a child, they'll help you with childcare, right? So they will help offset the tuition, right? Like I said, if your parents should almost already qualify for a Pell Grant in most cases, for the people that we talk to anyway. They'll qualify for a Pell Grant, So guess what you could do with this capital idea money? Put it in your pocket, right? Because what ends up happening is, and this is the game that almost nobody tells you, if you have multiple scholarships and programs paying for your degree, they're going to send you a check at the end of the semester. Now, you obviously do what you want to do with that money, but I would suggest at least put aside enough money to cover next year, right? And then that way you don't have to work as hard, right? And so for me, I averaged about $600 a month when I was going to school. Did I pick up student loan debt still? Yes, I did pick up student loan debt, but nothing near what other people picked up. So I hope that answered your question, and we went in on some other good stuff. So yeah.
Bro, really? This boy dropped it today, bro. This boy dropped it today.
So basically, Mr. Sharonke, Mr. Crawford, and Mr. Hill are all about to leave teaching, and we were all about to change our careers.
Oh, you said about? Fool, I already left.
Well, technically
went back
we
in time
can,
and
because it said if you have a bachelor degree or higher, we can't do that program.
Oh, what?
So hold on. Crawford had already looked at the rules.
When Festus was scrolling through it, it was at the bottom. It said if you have the requirements, it said if you have a bachelor degree or higher, you can't do it.
So this is the thing. I know they have other programs specifically for engineering, but that's the one they have with A&M. They also have one with another school.
Wasn't it one with UT something?
UT, correct. UT.
Arlington? No, is it Arlington?
I think it was UT Arlington. Yeah. So
or something like that.
So yeah, and this is the other thing. There are other, and I don't want to get down into it too much because there's so much to really cover.
Yeah. But
hopefully that gave you guys a really good start and some resources to look at, right? So y'all go ahead. So yeah, at least we should get a couple more Facebook followers and a couple more YouTube followers because we got some fire stuff on YouTube. So I think we're a little bit over on time. Turn it back over to you, Olay.
Well worth it. Worth it.
Thank
Definitely.
You,
Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something else?
I just want to say thank you, sir. And capital idea, that's supposed to be like them to help you like with push.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. And so yeah, you can just go on Capital Idea. Again, I'll drop my email in the chat. If you guys need any questions or have any questions, you could just email me directly.
I think he was asking if the Capital Idea, if they help with tuition.
They do. They do.
All right. Absolutely. Wonderful. And I think you're right, Festus. I hope a couple people come in and see the fire there. We get so busy. And I was thinking about that earlier this week. We get so busy talking about these issues that I'd be like, man, we like low-key got the Dave Ramsey of like college education and all things college readiness and adult readiness here. So it's always good whenever we get people coming in on that, right? Let's see Hill. Hill's ready to start about 4 new careers right now. I promise. I can see it in his face. I didn't know he was Jamaican. Oh boy, looking Jamaican. Yeah, wild man. Yeah, man. We're gonna be doing everything. We're gonna do it together. I'll do everything for you. I'll build a house and I'll fix it for you. I'll put the meals in there, everything. That was a horrible Jamaican accent, by the way. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the sessions for coming in and hopefully getting some really good knowledge. Thank you, Daniel, as always. Jamark, happy birthday once again. Thank you so much for coming in. He's supposed to be outside, like, doing something, but he's in here with us, dropping fire, knowledge, advice, tips for these young people. Thank you, as always, Festus. Remember, there are legitimate reasons to not going to college, but there are no legitimate reasons to not getting an education, just like Festus said earlier. Folks, I'm Olay Sharonke. Thank you so much for joining us for another session of LYS Free Student Mentoring. Can't wait to see you next week. Have a good one. And remember, be, know, do. All right, now, y'all be good. Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.